Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Bryan, joined by my co-host Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about leadership styles.
Yep, and before we jump all the way in, we'd just like to welcome you. If this is your first time, thank you for taking the time out to check out our podcast. You've been rocking with us for a while. We appreciate you coming back. If you'd like to connect with us at any time, you can search Marriage is Tougher on any social media channel, or you can go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form, fill it out, let us know what you are thinking or what you'd like to say, or if you'd like to be a guest, hit that form as well. All right, let's get into the episode.
All right. So I got to say, the reason this is, I guess, front of mind is because I just did a training on this yesterday at work. And the entire time we were in the training, I kept thinking about how some of the topics that we were talking about applied to marriage as well. Someone had even actually made a joke about, active listening or reflective listening. And, he was like, yeah, I listen to everybody but my wife, right? So that really spurred then my thoughts about how all of these leadership styles could, apply in marriage, and thinking about where I land on, the realm of leadership styles, how mine is it the best to complement my marriage, or is there something I may need to think about changing? Or I guess, is there a potential that I need to employ more leadership styles in different situations? So real quick, I want to read through just a few. There are a ton of leadership styles, so it makes no sense for us to go through the whole list, but there are a few that I would like to just mention or at least touch on. So I would say top 5 are transformational, transactional, autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. I'll start with laissez-faire. I feel like with laissez-faire, which, if you don't know, is sort of like a hands-off approach. I don't know if that necessarily applies. Well, it doesn't apply to my marriage, but I could see some marriages being affected by this, I guess. I have to imagine there are some couples out there where one of the partners is just like, I don't want to make any of the decisions. Like, I'm just going to go work, get the money. It'll be in the bank account. Do what you seem to think is fit.
Yeah, that seems a little, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling pointed to by this one, right? Because part of it is the laissez-faire is like intentionally giving, in the leadership style, is intentionally giving your employees like autonomy and freedom, right? Like, you don't want to be the micromanager, so you're like, okay, I trust that they know what they're going to do. I'm just going to let them do their thing. Just give me my reports when I need them and go on about your day.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be crazy if like they're going down the rabbit hole of a way you don't want to go, right? Specifically, I guess, in marriage, if someone starts making decisions that are detrimental, right? And you may not know until it's too late. Not too late, but you have to really walk back those decisions because you were just trusting your partner to make the decisions like they always do. And if they, or sometimes don't, that's the only thing I'm thinking about. But for me, like, I trust my wife so much and she handles a lot of things. So I may be a laissez-faire spouse in the sense of like, I don't know. We can go through the other ones too and see what that looks like. But meaning, I don't really worry that she's going to make the wrong decision because she has the history of not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, okay, like if there's a decision and she's out and she needs to make it, she doesn't have to check in, or if there's a big decision, that's usually when we talk. So we can go through some other ones. But I felt like, oh, that's me. Like, I don't really care. Like, she's going to take care of it. It's going to be great. So, you know,
I got you.
but like you said, they're kind of maybe all play into it. So,
Yeah. So the next one I'll touch on is democratic. All right. So this for me is the perception where everybody has a say, right? Um, like you could even employ the opinions of your children if you're working in a democratic leadership style, right? Um, I think this one can get a little touchy in a family. Now, I do believe that dependent on the topic of conversation, should the kids have a say? I think maybe to some extent. I think it's good to, in some situations, allow your children to be involved in decision making. As in, like, I'm going to take your input and consider it, right? Um, but I think still holding the stance that you know your parents are the ones who are going to ultimately make the decision. We did take your input. I think I have mixed feelings on maybe always explaining why we made the decision that we made. But I think also in the bulk of decisions that need to be made, explaining why to them is it's not just fair. I think will help them when they get a little bit older on the decision making process.
yeah, absolutely. I think family wise, it's just it's like what decisions need explained or what. I mean, and you can always set the boundary like, most likely I'll take your input. At least I'll hear what you're saying, but sometimes it won't bear any effect on the decision that your mom and I are going to make. But it's good to hear what you have to say. And I think it's as they get old enough to understand that is the more you can go on explaining. Sometimes you know talking to a toddler is not really gonna work. But as they get older, 6, 7, 8, they can understand kind of what that is, and they're
Mhm.
learning that in school. That makes sense. I think as far as in the marriage goes, I think maybe this is the one where we hang out more, because it's basically, you and your spouse have a view and you talk about it, but you value and appreciate the view, and then a decision is made. So it's not making decisions in a vacuum or without any input. It's just knowing that most of the decisions that we make, if it's not like, oh, where am I getting gas today, but like, something that's a little bit more significant, um, will either be agreed upon beforehand because you've already discussed it, so you know what the answer is anyway, or you have to slow down and have a discussion. So I think that's probably where I sit the most.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I would have to say my wife and I now mostly work in democratic, right? Like we're both going to have input. We're going to weigh our decisions based on each other's input, somewhat of the children's input. Um, and I think it makes it easiest to move forward when you can agree in that style. This is the way that we should move forward, right? Because then there's like buy-in from all parties, right? Like here's all the information we have on the table. Um, here's all of our likes and dislikes about the situation, and what is our goal, working back from that, right? this isn't in alignment with our goal, all right, then maybe this isn't a priority right now, and we'll step back and go a different direction, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I like the democratic style. Definitely allows a lot more communication, and I like that practice. So the next one I want to talk about, which I think in my work is where I land most, and that's servant leadership. But I think off the top of my mind, I feel like that's where I land mostly in my marriage as well, right? Like I'm mostly putting my family's needs before mine. How do you feel about servant leadership?
I think that is the ultimate uh, thought process of most husbands, at least most that I come in contact with, because there's just a mindset of kind of like, how can I, like, what am I giving up for my family, right? There's that
Mm,
aspect of, okay, like, I got to make sure everyone's good before I'm even good, in most things, right? I think we all have times and situations where we may fail at this, but the undercurrent of the marriage and the family is, okay, make sure my wife's good, make sure my kids are good. How can I make sure that they get what they need and even what they want? And most of the time, it's their needs before my needs. Um, so that's kind of, I resonate with what you're saying in essence.
I got you. Yeah, and I think I can be better in this area. Um, I think I operate very well with it in my work life. Um, if you look at the definition, it speaks to like coaching or mentoring, or so those are definitely things that I try to do in my work life, especially for any direct reports I have. I want to make sure that they are taken care of, that, whatever ideals they have for their growth or progression within their career, that they're afforded the opportunities to do that. And I don't ever want to seem like I'm a blocker, or I'm a hurdle that they need to get over or around in order to get to where they want to go, right? I want to be their support. I want to be their lead blocker to help them get to where they're going, right? Um, and I think in a lot of ways I do that for my family, but I think there's other ways I could probably be doing that better for my wife. And it's in certain areas, right? Like, um, which I am getting better at it in one way or another. But let's say, she was asking for me to come home more. And that was just because I think she needed more help around the house. Okay, fine. What I saw is I also want her to have more free time to spend with her friends, um, like I had taken advantage of in the past. Um, I think that as you get older and families, develop, it's harder to spend time with each other. Maybe not so much just for pure like distance, but schedules aligning, right? Like everybody's got their own things going on. It's more and more difficult, um, if I'll say you don't have shared hobbies like golf or shooting pool like I used to. These were just events that I would go to and developed a friend group around. So I get a lot of invites to go do those types of things, but I also know like if I'm going to do those things, it's probably going to happen with a group of friends or a group of acquaintances. Um, I don't know that she has so many of those opportunities, because she doesn't really have like a hobby, right? Um, and I don't know that she ever goes shopping with her friends. I think that's typically a solo deal, or if, one of the kids goes with her. I know she does like doing brunch or lunches with the girls, but then again, there's cost to those things, so it's maybe not something that you do so often. Um, but like I also said, the schedule gets in the way. Um, for you and Crystal, how do you operate in, um, I guess I'm going to go on a tangent here, but how do you operate in allowing space for each other to do your own thing?
That's a good question. I was like, trying to think about it as you were asking that. I think it's planning, um, calendaring for sure. Um, and then, like you said, it's making sure that she does those things, right? Like, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that she feels like she can go? I mean, now that Bella's older, I think it was definitely harder when she was young. But I think we also, I think in the last couple of years, she's kind of locked into some friends. And even now, like just new friends, it's more like, hey, can you go to lunch with someone or brunch or whatever? And I know there is a cost to that. But I think we put a line item in our budget for like just meals, like intentional meals with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that helped it be a lot less stressful of like, okay, like you're gonna go out to dinner, like is that the dinner budget? Is that the grocery budget? Like what are we doing? Um, I think it was allowing her to find things that she liked. I think our newer church community helped with that because you get invited to things that you might not do, like a painting class for like someone's birthday, right? And when it's someone's birthday, you're like, okay, like I'm gonna go to this, right? So there's been a lot of like crafty things that Crystal, she's always liked those things, but there's like some new spaces to do that here in our city. And she got to do that because she went to someone's birthday. And then, so then she's like, oh, I like this. So then every now and then I'll be like, hey, do you want to go, you know, do a painting class or whatever? And then she's like, yeah, it'd be kind of fun. And then so she'll ask and get a friend to go do that. And so it's just more trying out those things. But like you said, they're all older and they're not like, they're older with kids. So it's not like a party type thing. So they're just finding things that they like now as they get older and then inviting and they're okay to do that on a birthday that may feel out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think we realize like on your birthday, you can really ask people to do things and they'll do it because it's your birthday. So even if they're like, oh, I hate painting, but I'll go because I get to kick it with this group of people.
Right.
Or like for me, I really like the question cards, but not everybody does. But actually, I feel like it's more fun. So usually on my birthday, like once we eat or whatever, like I'll just whip them out and then just and they end up being really good conversations and it's just those type of things. So
Nice.
I think it's just broadening out and kind of taking opportunities to try to find some things that you like and maybe you won't like them, but just giving space to do that. And like I said, I mean, our youngest is 12, so it's a little bit easier just to, you know, do that.
Yeah. All right. So going back to the leadership styles, there's one more that I want to discuss, and that's the autocratic leadership. And I'm just going to read how this has it defined. It says, in the style, the leader makes decisions independently without much input from the team. This can be effective in crisis situations or when quick decisions are needed, but it can also stifle creativity and employee morale. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is I think sometimes we feel like we are entitled as the husband to always operate in this manner, right? Um, I can think of scenarios where this style may be appropriate, right? Like case in point, I try to prepare my children for emergency situations, right? So we have um, certain keywords and also certain hand signals um, where they know if we're in a public place and I do these things that they need to get to me as quickly as possible. right? And then they also know, dependent on, which of the kids are with us at the time, that they are also accountable to make sure that they find their sibling and make sure everyone's coming to me, right? And so that's just a safety thing that I employ. But um, that type of leadership style in an emergent situation, I'm going to employ that all day long, right? Um, if it's about, let's say, what food we're eating, right? That's going to be more democratic, right? Um, but I don't know. Do you ever employ that autocratic leadership style in your marriage? Can't hear you.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what you were saying as you were explaining that. I think as a parent, it kind of just happens because you know more in a lot of situations. And that was a great example that you just gave. But I'm thinking as with my spouse, um, I don't think so. That's not really a thing. I feel like everything is up for debate. And I think I understand people that I have blind spots. And I think I found that out really early. Um, it's like, yeah, I can make the decision and it's fine, but we're usually better together. Um, so I don't think so. I think I've learned and failed um, in some areas where I would just make decisions, or it would be me to own and I would take it without any input. And then realizing, like, oh, if I would have just either asked a question or opened it up for discussion, it could have been better. So it may not have even been failing, but it wasn't as efficient or as good as it could have been.
Gotcha.
So I usually look for input. And that's also something I do at work. Like, even if it's something that I can totally do myself, um, and even get done, like, I'm always open for like peer reviews or anything like that before I ship something, just because it just makes more sense. And once you're in something for so long, your eyes can miss it because of things that are supposed to be that you just assume is. And someone will come in and see something that needs change. And I've realized, yeah, it's definitely worth the time to ask for different input, than to have to backtrack if put something out or production or make a decision in your marriage and have to walk it back because you didn't offer that. So I do get that though in crisis situations for sure. Like, everybody just be on the same page.
Yep.
Um, and if not, then just look to me to make the decision. We'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that, man. I agree that there's not much need for it. I think our families are in a good space where that's not needed, thankfully. Um, but I think there are also times when maybe a snap decision needs to be made. Maybe it doesn't always have to be a crisis situation. Um, but I would say those are probably reserved more for the smaller decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially as often as I have the children now and my wife's not there. Just thinking about, like, sporting events and things of that nature. Because as I've shared on the pod before, we're very much a divide and conquer type of family, right? So if the little one isn't participating, then we might, rather than having her out until 8 o'clock at night, just you stay home with her and
Mm-hmm.
make sure she's taken care of, get her to bed, and all is well. In that type of scenario, then I might make some smaller decisions, but there might be something where I'm out and my wife's not available to answer the phone, or isn't capable of replying to a text right away. Yeah, I might make a small decision, but I'm sitting here struggling to think of a more important decision where I wouldn't be able to wait to consult her. you know.
Same.
So I think that's where I say the the democratic operations kind of hits my family most, and then I try to lead in servitude of others always, but um, especially my family, right? Like it feels more loving to me to lead that way.
Absolutely. Would you say that it's easier to do that when you're confident in who you are and that you can make those decisions?
I would say yes for sure, right? It's funny because I was kind of mindful of this yesterday. Being confident in your manhood allows you to show up differently, right? Like
Explain.
in a lot of different spaces, right? Like I took, so this is just a funny story. I took two of the kids to their football pool party last night, right? Hours from 8 to 10 at night. And
Yeesh.
we have this swim bag or beach bag that my wife typically carries. So, it's like baby pink, right? Um, I can see some guys be like, nah, I'm not taking that. Like, I'll just hold the stuff in my arms, right? I'm like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. This is making my life convenient. I'll take the pink bag. It is what it is, right? Um, so that's all I mean to say. Like, you show up different in different spaces, right? Like, if you're secure in your manhood, you have no qualm saying, "Oh, you know what? Hey, I'm going to take this back to my wife, and we're going to have to talk about this first,
Mm-hmm.
right?" And that's, I think, where that really shines through. Um, but
Yeah,
that is
that's a good
also
point.
authentic to me, right? Like, I don't really care what you think. I'm going to do what's best in this moment.
Yeah, have you always been that way?
Hmm. Um, I would say mostly. I would say there are probably some situations in the past where I was uncomfortable with certain things. Um, but I think mostly I've been secure enough in my manhood, and secure in who I am as a person
Mm-hmm.
to show up and be a leader rather than just following the crowd,
Yeah. I mean, I
right?
think a lot of people, or I've seen it, where it's not even manhood, it's more your personality, like being confident in you, where
Yeah,
it's
self
like,
confidence.
okay,
Yeah.
I have to go back and, well, I guess it is a manhood thing. Like people like, all right, I got to go talk to my wife, right? And then someone may jibe them like, oh, you got to go, blah, 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 and that type of thing. And I've seen people be okay with that and not okay with that, right?
Mhm.
Because for some reason, maybe they feel like they're less than if they have to go talk to their wife, or they're not the quote unquote head of house, or whatever things people think of. Um, but if there's two people, then two people should make the decision. Doesn't matter, you know, what it is, especially if it's big. So, um, yeah, I don't think I've always been there, but I think as soon as I was confident in who I was, then it was fine. Like once I didn't care what people thought of me, um, then it didn't matter. So that's why I was just asking you to elaborate, but it makes good sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know, man. I think that, like you said, I've not always been there, but I think most of the time I've been there because I can think of specific situations where I'm, I've operated in that space even as a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I was comfortable doing my own thing because like I knew it was just the right thing to do, or if I disagree with how you were doing something and I thought this was the right way to do it, then if it took me doing it on my own, then like yeah, that's what I'm going to do because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel is right. So that's that moral compass for me is very strong. I would say, um, and most of my life, that's how I've let let myself be guided.
That's dope. I think for me, I think it was up until college. Most of the time, I didn't care, but I could see sometimes I did. And so, but when I was walking through college years. So I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. Like, because sometimes I think when I was younger, I did put more emphasis on what friends or stuff said, not realizing like once you get to college, you realize like, oh, none of this matters. Like it's only like what I do.
Right.
Like, I mean, I can do stupid stuff with my friends or not, but either way, the next day we're still going to kick it. Or like this decision is only affecting me; it's not affecting them, even though you think it does. So, um, yeah, it might have took me a little longer to holistically do that. I think intrinsically that was inside me all the time. It just took me a little while to grasp the fact of that social aspect of it. Like there is no real social ostracism just for being different. You just are known as the one that doesn't care and will do the right thing or do the thing that they think is right. So
Yeah. I think that may also have something to do with me being the oldest child,
true.
right? Like I just kind of natural structure of things.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, that's all I got on this, man.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys making it through this episode. If you'd like to connect with us, just search Marriage is Tougher on any social media channel. You can also go to marriagestougher.com and fill out the contact form if you'd like to be a guest or if you have any input or feedback for us. We appreciate you guys as always, and we'll chat with you guys next time.
Peace.